Hello, and welcome to Web Relates. Today we're looking at the AskReddit subreddit, where Pharaoh Roo has asked, "What's a hack in your industry that customers aren't supposed to find out?" Reddit Italy says, "Orchestral violinist. Sometimes we don't play all the notes." Rumbosity has replied, "Cellist here, we know you don't." Ooh, things are getting spicy over by the music kids. But Ketchum says, "I worked at a restaurant and one time the chef burned the applesauce that was supposed to be served with the pork chop. He put it on the menu as smoked applesauce, and people loved it." Even Positive has replied, "This works as a mom with kids too. You mess up in the kitchen, get fancy with the dinner name, and the kids will eat it." Chromed Beast says, "This was 6 to 7 years ago, so may not be relevant. But when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, the higher-ups were so tunnel-visioned on positive customer reviews that if there was any problem at all, we would write off anything from gas to whole days of rentals. We had a few repeat customers that would catch on and habitually complain about dumb stuff to get parts of the bill discounted. Only a rating of completely satisfied counted, and it was tied to bonus and promotion, so a huge incentive to make people happy." New Apartment, New Me has replied, "Worked at the Orlando International Airport Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We did about 3,000 car returns a day during peak season. It was such a profitable location that we gave away so much. People leaving in sports cars if they have a mid-size rental, free GPSs, etc. Some guy returned a car and said, 'Hey, I got a warning light to add wiper fluid, so I went and spent a few bucks and topped it off.' My manager gave him $150 off his rental for the inconvenience. He wasn't even mad about having to top off the fluid, he was just letting us know." Another time, we had a family with a full Disney trip booked with young kids late at night. You can tell which families are just kinda barely getting this trip pulled off and aren't really flush with cash. They asked about extending their rental before leaving, and I tried to match their daily rate, and ended up setting their weekly rate as the daily rate. They basically got another week free. They were insanely grateful, and my manager didn't bat an eye. I do miss that job." Spanky Banksy says, "Just because you're on hold doesn't mean we can't hear you." Half White and Nerdy has replied, "Another fun one. If you're using a chat feature, we can see what you type even before you hit enter. I've seen some wild things typed, then deleted." Hope in the Park has also replied, "I first saw this happening when I was touring my company's customer service department, and my mind was blown. I watched some dude try to correct a common misspelling for like 20 solid seconds, having no idea that a dozen or so people were watching his attempt." Spam the Sack says, "In the beninging. My fellow South Africans will appreciate that." I Am the Real Owner says, "When I worked in a hotel as a night porter, the room cost was totally reliant if you were a dick or not. I obviously couldn't just give rooms away, but I could pretty much knock off 50%. One day, a very tired woman came in with her baby, and I couldn't get the payment to go through at all, so I did give it to her for nothing. Just had to make sure she was out before 9 a.m, and I cleaned it myself." A Real Dog Trainer says, "Dog Trainer, this is a hack we want people to understand. One reason we can get your dog to do something so fast is because we use a high rate of reinforcement. For example, I'm training your dog to walk on a leash without pulling, and we practice in your driveway. I feed the dog 20 tiny pieces of food by my knee as we walk to the end of the driveway. The first time a client tries the exercise, they may use 5. The mechanics of the exercise look easy, but it takes time to get used to, and when people are practicing on their own, they do other things instead of focus on the exercise. They forget how often they need to reinforce the dog for doing the right thing. If they do the exercise for 2 minutes during each walk, with a high rate of reinforcement, ROR, that may be all it takes, and once the dog starts to learn, you can gradually slow down the ROR." Car Guy says, "When a car salesman offers you a premium car care package, don't buy it, it's a scam. Say you're buying a new car and I offer you a premium car care package. It'll only cost you X amount of money per month, but every time you come to the dealership, you get premium car wash. We hose it down, not a proper car wash. Interior detailing and rejuvenation. We use compressed air to make the dust go away. Sometimes a man uses a wet paper towel. Functions check and clock synchronization. Check if all the lights work, heater and AC work, and set up the clock if it's wrong. Summer and winter inspection and free wiper fluid refill, only done once per season. Check tire tread, visually check tire pressure, look at temperature gauge to make sure car isn't overheating, and add water in the summer, tiny amount of wiper fluid in winter. Visually inspect brake discs to see they are not scratched by worn-out brake pads. And assistance when you're on the move. You call us and then we call a tow truck for you, at your expense, only possible during business hours. Basically, we charge for simple things you can do yourself. Also, if a car dealership sells you a used car and they told you it has been fully serviced, take it to your local mechanic and have it serviced properly. Anne Real Dinosaur has replied, "My dad taught me to always bring a potential new car to your own mechanic for a checkup before making a purchase. If they don't want to let you do that, then you walk. I've done this 3 times now and not once has a dealership ever had an issue with it. One even let me keep the car overnight since I couldn't get an appointment until the next day." Mob Sleep says, if you or a teenager you know are admitted to a name brand / expensive / rich college and their financial aid package isn't enough, write to them and ask them for more money. Mention the other schools you were admitted to and that you received strong financial packages from them. Do not mention specific numbers unless it's a named scholarship, e.g. presidential or provost. At least 5 of my students this year got between 10 to 20,000 extra in scholarship money just by soliciting for it. Latest on Sheila says, if you want to extend your free trial and receive discounts, contact their customer support and ask for membership cancellation. They'll be more than happy to give you extensions, plus free gifts in your next order. Same thing applies if you want a discounted membership fee. Just call on the day your membership will stop. Lurch says, you can rent a nice casket for the funeral and be buried in a cheaper one. Josh Up says, when I worked as a pharmacy tech, I spent a lot of time calling insurance companies and waiting on hold while the world burned around me. One time I got impatient with the voice recognition bot because it kept hearing background noise and made selections impossible, so I started cursing it out. Turns out, if you say the F word a few times in a short span, the bot recognizes you as an angry customer and will switch you to a representative real quick. I did this multiple times to a lot of strange looks from my coworkers until I explained the hack. Quick edit since I'm getting a lot of the same responses. I now know that you can spam 0 or hashtag to get the same results. It's a feature being phased out in places. Shouting representative or operator also works. Marcelu Scuve has replied, related to this, if you repeatedly enter in the wrong birth date, they have to transfer you to a rep. All my patients were born on 0909-9999. Code 5 for the count says, paramedic here. Keep a list of your medical history, medicines, allergies, health card info, and next of kin contact info on a paper on or in your fridge. It's a common place for us to look. If you're incapacitated, we have all the info we need. Chef Southern Belle says, lean into the bite. I work in pediatrics and we're taught that if a child bites you, lean into it. Push whatever part of you they're biting further into their mouth, because their automatic reaction will be to open their mouth, and the risk of them breaking your skin is greatly diminished. Source, I was just bitten at work. Sank says, academic here. To get a PDF of a paper, you can usually email the author and ask for one. The times I've tried this, they've been happy to share. Don't mess around with formatting your references manually. Use something like CitationZ to automate the whole process. I prefer using Zotero as a reference manager myself. On a side note here, while we're talking about PDF files, I had a PowerPoint that I was converting to PDF that had a lot of images on one slide. And when I converted it to PDF, all the images got compressed and you couldn't really read them. And I found the simplest workaround to this was, instead of going export to PDF, you go to print, and you go to print to PDF, and it preserved all the image quality quite nicely. Slammed Optima says, I used to work in credit cards. If you disputed a charge for less than $75, not as fraud, we would just credit you the money. Most of the time, we wouldn't even investigate it past the initial chargeback. If we didn't win the case, you still got your money back. However, if we find out that you figured this out, we would stop giving you the credit unless we won. We've even closed accounts that took advantage of it. But if you want your money back as a one-time thing or whatever, you'd be fine. I Mix Music on Twitch says, good audio engineers will have faders/knobs that don't do anything. When the talent asks for a change that's goofy or makes no sense, we'll adjust that phantom knob and watch them nod their head in approval of their amazing idea. And Famous Example says, press 2 for Spanish. 90% of the time, the people manning the Spanish lines are bilingual, and the wait times aren't nearly as long. This is more like an unethical life hack, but it is true they would prefer you not find out about it or do it. Alright, that's it for today, guys. I know I want to give a few of these a shot, especially that call center one. Let me know if you guys have any more in the comments or if there's any that you want to try. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And then I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers!